There may be times where you have a couple of extenuating circumstances with your AirPods. One of them being that when you try to pull back the clear plastic loop, it gets stuck. Or maybe it doesn't give you the magic click. Maybe it's just very quiet. Maybe it does not go back into place very easily. That's an easy fix as well. All you have to do is gently pull it and give it a quarter turn either direction. And you can actually use the cleaner, and we're just gonna pour a little bit of that cleaner right on that needle, and it's gonna go in and lubricate where the spring, the gaskets, the O-rings, all of those moving parts, and it's actually gonna lubricate it. Now, if you find that that doesn't quite loosen it up enough, you can go ahead and give it a gentle turn 360 degrees. Again, I want to say you're going to do this slowly and you're going to do it gently. That should loosen everything up. One of the other things you might want to be sure of is that when you are applying the makeup and you're not really applying lots of makeup in one shade, there's no need to fill this mixing well all the way up, and there's no need to airbrush with the cap on the well. I actually prefer to airbrush with it off. I feel like the air circulates through the pod much more effectively. I reserve the cap for when we have filled the well all the way and we're trying to prevent spilling, or during storage. Or even when you're taking a break while you're applying the makeup and you want to make sure that the makeup inside the pod doesn't dry out while you use another pod, you can go ahead and recap it, set it aside, move to your other color, then go back to this pod without worrying about the makeup inside drying out. But please make sure that you are not storing makeup inside the AirPod Pro long term. We do want to make sure that you're storing these clean. Sometimes when we are spraying airbrush makeup that has a lot of pigment in the formula, for example, high definition colors, we're gonna need to thin them out a little bit, and that could be contributing to some of your problems. So as another troubleshooting module, I'm gonna show you how to thin out a product so that it is the right consistency to go through your airbrush. What we're trying to achieve is the consistency of heavy whipping cream. So think about thick coffee creamer. We don't really want to be any thicker than that. So I've got an example of a heavily pigmented formula. I'm going to go ahead and add some into the airbrush, and I want you to pay attention to the consistency of this. If your makeup is along these lines consistency-wise, you're going to need to thin it out, and don't worry, TEMPTU has exactly what you need for that. So let's watch. When it is not dripping freely and it's actually a little heavy, like that was, go ahead and grab your mixing medium. TEMPTU created this formula exactly for these purposes, to thin pigments out so that they're the right consistency to spray through the equipment. So let's start with a drop. And then take your cleaning brush or mixing brush and stir it up. And here's a great way to test that it's the right consistency to spray. With what's on the brush, gently wipe that off on the edge of the pod and watch to see if it drips down the inside wall of the pod. If it does, it's ready to spray. If it stays put, you need to add another drop of mixing medium, and then you should be good to go. So sometimes when you're airbrushing, you'll notice that there's a spitting pattern to one side of your spray pattern or the other, and that could indicate a bent needle. Now, in these AirPods, you cannot change out the needle. You'll need to replace the pod. But here's how I like to check to see if I do have a bent needle. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the pod from the airbrush, and I just take the lip of my fingernail and kind of spin the pod around as I'm trying to catch it on the edge of that needle in a circle. If it catches, that's a good indication that you have a bent needle. Something I've done in the past is actually use a magnifying glass or the magnification feature on your cell phone. Take a picture of it and really zoom in, and you can see if you have a bent tip. Now, here's what you can do to prevent that. Just so you know, when you put your pods in storage, if you are not using a pod organizer, and let's say you're storing them in a drawer, a makeup bag, anything like that, you want to make sure that you're storing them with the tail cap on. So if you don't store them with this tail cap on, what could happen is the exposed parts could accidentally get pushed into the needle end of another pod, which could create a little bit of a bent needle at the tip. So to prevent that, again, please just use your storage cap if you are storing them in a bag, like a Zuka bag or a makeup drawer, anything where the pods are not separated, like in our pod organizer. One of the most important parts of cleaning and maintaining your airbrush equipment is knowing what to use to clean it. So you do need to make sure that the cleaning formula you use matches the formula of makeup you're spraying through it. So I like to have a little rule: silicone with silicone, water with water, alcohol with alcohol, isododecane with isododecane. I can go on for days. But the point is, make sure you're using the proper cleanser for the makeup formula that you're using. For all of the TEMPTU beauty formulas, I'm using the SB cleaner. However, if you're using our other formula that's an isododecane base, we've got that cleaner you can use as well. In a pinch, if you have a tough clog, or you just need a little extra muscle power to clean it, you can use 99% alcohol. This is not something that I would recommend using long-term, however, because the pods are made of plastic and you don't want to use alcohol regularly for fear of drying out the pod and all of the moving parts. Remember, our cleaner is very lubricating, so it is our friend in maintaining our equipment. One of the first things I check if my airbrush is not spraying appropriately is that the compressor or the TEMPTU air has a full charge. Now, there is an indicator about 10 to 15 minutes before the battery goes dead that will alert you to, it's time to plug it in and charge. And those 3 lights on the back will start flashing at you.